Baby Boomer fans, we are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River, make sure you are wide awake, and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Hello, greetings. We are
Hello.
grateful that you joined us today on the 1950s Fun Chat. This is number 196, and we plan to keep going, folks. Don't we, Jackie? Yes,
we do.
Today, it was an interesting Fun Chat, something new that we haven't talked about before, in that we're featuring a hobby that was popular in the 1950s, even ahead of that. So, Jackie, this will be an interesting conversation.
Yes, ma'am. And here we go.
Yes.
Okay. Good day, good morning, good evening, viewers. Welcome again to a 1950s Fun Chat. I would like to draw your attention to the book in the upper right-hand corner, at least of my screen. While the Windmill Watched a Slice of Rural America in the 1950s is a book that has kicked off the 1950s Fun Chat a couple of years ago. So please take a look at the lower part of your screen where you see the www.wildthewindmillwatch.com. Please go there for all sorts of information about the authors, about the events where you might see us signing books, about the vendors. We have approximately 30 vendors, and we're so grateful for them, and about these 1950s fun chats that have been recorded in the past. So let's get going here. I would like to start with the question. So how did a certain birthday gift lead to a lifelong hobby? We will learn the answer to that question as we chat with Ann Hein. Ann was born in 1941, the eldest of 3 siblings. She graduated from Wheaton College, Wheaton, Illinois, and after graduation taught in Los Angeles, California, and returned to the Midwest 2 years later with a husband. Ann has enjoyed foreign travel. She now resides at Green Hills Retirement Community near Ames, Iowa. So, Ann, we welcome you to this 1950s Fun Chat.
Hi, Ann.
So, before we hear the answer to that leading question, we will begin with, how did you and your husband meet?
Well, that's quite a story, because how in the world did a professor's daughter teaching in Los Angeles hook up with a wrestling coach from Iowa?
Good question.
All right, tell us.
And it goes back to you talked about, well, Sputnik really shook up the place, shook up the country, and we don't like the Russians beating us on things. So when that happened, they started pouring money into education, to science education. And so they got teachers that were, quote, deficient in their field, which means we didn't know anything about science. Well, we did, but so I was able to go to Ypsilanti, Michigan, all the way across the country to go to a 6-week class of different science things. And then Bob, at the last minute, filled out the form and sent the request too, and he got to go. And when you got there were only 6 women out of probably 60 people. Uh-huh. One of them hated men. One of them got a divorce. One of them had a nervous breakdown. Most of the men were married. So I met Bob. And I thought it would be all over when we said goodbye at the end, but that didn't happen. He sent flowers to my grandmother where I was staying. And she was probably more excited than I was.
He knew how to attract you.
Yes, he's from Iowa, but he was teaching in Postville, which is a very small town.
All right. So
did your grandmother encourage you to continue the relationship?
Well, she was just so excited because it was like back in the olden days with my aunt, who was very popular.
Cool. So, all righty, let's move on to our topic. So what caused you to become a philatelist, a person who collects stamps?
Well, I received a book probably for a birthday. And so that really started me. And then Wheaton is a Christian college, which in the 30s and 40s sent out a lot of missionaries. And so my parents got lots of mail, and it had interesting stamps on them. So that's really kind of how it started. And I brought a book just to show you how big it is.
Can you give us a side, turn it on the side so we see the inside of it, or the spine?
Well, yeah, but I want to show you how
Yeah,
It's fine. Yes. Yeah.
thick it is.
there.
Now I can't. Anyway, that's not my beginning book, but you get a beginning book, and then, well, do you want to know more about what you do when you get stamps?
Sure.
You
I mean,
keep
this is-
talking.
All right, so you have to cut the stamps off of, you have to get stamps off the envelope, and you need to cut them. Now, I don't know if you can see, I can't see.
Okay, hold it up higher. Hold it up higher. There, a little more. Yeah, okay, so that's a 29-cent stamp, Explorer of California.
And it's on a piece, and it's cut out of an envelope with 1/4 of an inch around the outside. So they need to be, you need to have that little border around the edge.
Okay.
And then the next thing is you have to soak it and peel the envelope off. So what I like to do is just on a plate, put some water, and then turn or maybe a cookie sheet or something, and then just put it in upside down and wait till it washes itself off. So then you've got a stamp that doesn't have any, it's just a stamp. It's not a.
And okay, and so is there ever a concern about water affecting getting onto the top of
That's not well, of course, part of it, we're not professionals. We're not.
Yeah.
That's how we did them all. And then then to put them into the book, you have a little piece of paper that's got glue on it. And so you get that, it's folded. So one part goes on the stamp and the other one goes on the book page.
How do you know which stamps you want to collect?
Well, you have to, the book has, I just, all right, now which way should I turn it?
Okay,
now?
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yes.
That's how they come, and they're just black and white and they're usually sorted by country.
So those are pages on which those items, those black and white pictures of stamps would be, and then you have to find the stamp. Then
and you have to match them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
then I would.
Is there ever a time when you can't find the stamp?
Oh, many times. So if you can't find a place, then. Well, no. Here's a page that I did find. I did find a lot of.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, yes.
So that was exciting when you get that many.
Yes.
But then if you don't have.
Do you always want canceled stamps?
No. In fact, I don't. At my level, you just like a uncanceled one because you can see it more clearly.
Sure.
Now here's one where I couldn't find. I couldn't find the picture. So can you see it now?
Yes, very good.
But see, those I couldn't find in my book.
Uh-huh.
The other thing is when you realize that you start out with a little book, and then but then every year a new set of pages comes out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine every year taking this book apart and putting in the other pages?
That wouldn't be a lot of fun, I wouldn't think. So do you know, was it the Postal Service who decided which stamps would go on these pages?
No, the stamp collectors and the stamp makers aren't in touch with each other. I don't think there's a committee probably that makes recommendations for it.
Okay.
Okay.
And don't forget they're from all, I'm collecting from all over the world.
And do most people choose an area of the world from which to collect
Well, I think
stamps?
if you're a kid like me, you decide which ones, because some you might get, but not all, not 6 pages from one country.
Yes.
Mhm.
Why is it that you chose to collect stamps from all over the world?
Well, because they're so pretty.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I mean, they're just so interesting. This one, did I show this one yet?
Okay, raise it up higher, a little higher. Yes, there we go. Oh, nice.
75. Mhm.
I mean,
So-
and look how big those are.
Yes.
Mhm.
There's
So-
quite a variety. Now,
10-cent stamp in 1975. Interesting.
yeah, and well, that was space age beginning.
Yes.
Now, England is really good at, they have beautiful stamps. Here's one that's from the 25th anniversary of the coronation, and it's got a special envelope.
Aha.
Nice. Beautiful.
Raise it up just a little bit. Yes.
A special envelope, and then a special stamp, and it's stamped so it doesn't get messed up. Let's see how to, yeah, this one has a postmark, but it's not,
Okay.
it's very,
And so that in 1952 when Queen Elizabeth was crowned?
I don't remember.
Okay, early 50s anyway.
Yeah. And then here's one for her 50th. Oh, this is a recent one. This is a 90th birthday.
Mhm.
Raise it up just a little bit, please. Yes. Oh,
Nice.
yes. Huh.
And then here's a bicentennial one. And these are first day covers. So you can collect the stamp on an envelope, or you can collect it. It's wide open. But this is one of our bicentennial, and you remember that when everything was
Okay,
bicentennial.
take it a little to your right. Yes. Okay, there we go. The bicentennial. Oh.
And this is the first day of cover. So that's a special stamp. So it says first day of issue in Cleveland.
If it's the first day cover, does that make the stamp more valuable?
Yes.
Mhm.
And you don't put it in your album. I don't know what you do with it, but
You keep it anyway. So below that 11, is there a P? Would you look at the stamp? Is there a P?
is there what?
Look at the stamp just to the lower part of the 11. What mark is that?
June 2nd.
Is there a letter P? P is in potato?
No,
Okay.
it's a
What is
picture
that
of
mark?
Benjamin Franklin.
Right. Okay, I just thought I saw a P underneath near the 11. Okay, we'll go on then.
So
Now-
you would go to the post office anytime you wanted a new stamp. That's where you'd go to get it, unless you took it off of an envelope.
No, you go to a hobby shop, and
Oh.
you can buy an envelope full of stamps.
And
Oh,
is there a national or an international address where you can order them also?
I think you'd have to. Well, I don't know how you buy your foreign stamps. I bought stamps on vacation to get one that's clean, but I really just wait for ones in the mail.
So
And-
have
And
you
I
ever
think that's
purchased
what
a
most
book?
collectors do. So
Have you ever purchased a commemorative stamp collection where you get the book and then you get the stamps as well?
yes,
Mhm.
I had, that's one thing I had that I didn't bring, but it's a book that's of the bicentennial, and it lists it has pictures and stories, and besides the place to put your stamp.
Mhm.
So that's
And is there a stamp or a group of stamps that it has a more appeal to you, or has a fond remembrance for you?
well, mostly just the ones that are so pretty.
Mhm.
and so interesting. And that's what, well, just like that first one that's got the soldier, the Spanish one, but
Mhm.
and then the one, did I show you the pin that I have?
I don't think so. No, can you? Yes, hold it up close to the camera, up higher, please.
Higher.
Yes, higher. Oh, so that's no high.
From Norway.
So this one, someone has made into a brooch, a pin to wear, and I fell in love with that because I'd been to Norway, and there's the bus that took us around.
Okay. And so did you wear that only to stamp collecting events, or did
No,
you?
if I ever wore a pin, I might wear it, but we don't wear them as much anymore.
Sure. Well, I would think that would certainly start a conversation with people if you were wearing it.
It does, and then you can find out who else went to Norway.
Yes.
So, and what is the oldest stamp in your collection?
Well, I really don't know because I haven't looked at them that much, and it was probably somehow my grandpa from New York had some stamps, and so I got people when they know you're collecting, when you're a kid, and you're collecting, relatives, friends will send you envelopes full of them.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
Okay.
And it's so funny. I really quit doing it when I was done with school, but I've carried this around for 50 years.
Well, it's part of who you are and who you were.
And I keep cutting them out. I keep saving them, and I cut them out with a quarter of an inch around. And I did find out recently, I don't know if it's still, I think it's still in fact, that the Sons of Norway in America collect stamps collections or stamps, and they mail them to Norway, who uses them to sell and uses the money for charity.
Okay.
Good idea.
So this many of your stamp parts of your stamp collection would have been from the 40s then, and then going into the 50s. And I did you quit collecting then as a youngster?
Well, probably in high school, I faded out.
Which would have been middle 50s type.
Yeah, because I graduated from high school in 59.
Okay. Okay.
So I really haven't done anything with them except collect them.
That's okay.
So you have envelopes full of stamps, and there they are. You have envelopes full of stamps waiting to be documented.
There we go.
Now, and see, some people collect the whole sheet of stamps. This is the one that's I can't tell. Oh, this is the bicentennial.
Pretty.
So at each state have a stamp then?
Well, one year they've done it more than once. They have a stamp for each state, and so I bought one of those for somebody in our family and framed it. It must have been for Bill, and framed it. And then another one was was one of the, I think it was Walking on the Moon.
Oh,
and
sure.
Our daughter was baptized the day they walked on the moon.
Yeah.
And the stamp was really pretty. They're making them so much fancier now. And so I framed that for her.
Nice. You had so much experience with folks who had traveled from foreign countries to come to Wheaton College. Can you tell us about those experiences and then how that led into your travels to their location?
Well, the travels, we were always a traveling family because my father came from California and my mother came from near Buffalo. And so we would travel around the states, and everybody's on a school schedule. That's a real advantage to travel. So we could all go. And then when my husband retired, he was a guidance counselor. He filled in as a substitute and made so much money. We took the whole family to Germany.
Okay.
What a shame, huh?
But as a child, we drove, and we didn't stay in motels very often. I just remember camping, just sandwiched in a tarpaulin in a campground as we camped.
Uh-huh.
And then Bob liked to travel too. As a family, their vacations were always when the crop was in. They didn't know when vacation started until Grandpa said, "Today's the day." And then they always went to the Black Hills.
Oh, okay. How
And
about,
then-
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You first.
Okay. Foreign travel. Germany, France. How did,
Well, I'm not sure why it started. I know what it was. My father we went camping one summer, and camped out in Mexico because he went to a convention in Mexico. And he said, 4 years from now, this convention is in Denmark and we are going. Well, Wheaton does not, they pay them okay, but they're not over generous. And so we've always been frugal. But anyway, he said, we're going to go to, well, it turns out he signed up for a scholarship. And so he went with Seattle over to Pakistan. So he got money. He got paid enough to fly first class around the world, but he saved the money so I could come too.
whoa, nice.
So that was the first really foreign experience. And then the second time they went, when he went to another convention, another company, our organization, we went to, anyway, we went to Denmark after all that. And then another time they went my parents took the family to England. So that was another time. And that's when our kids were little. So I guess it's that. And then Bob had never traveled much. So this is really interesting. I said I didn't think I'd ever see him again after summer was over. We got the roses. Well, the next summer he went on a trip to Europe. He found it on the line, I guess. It was Chicago's. It was the women. No, the men had to have college degrees and the women didn't.
Oh.
And there were like 3 men on the trip, and the rest were all women. So when he got home from he thought that he would not feel comfortable if he'd never been to a foreign country when I'd been to so many.
Okay.
And so he really did that for me, which
For you.
I really appreciated.
Yes.
So
Did you ever stay in any castles in Europe?
we stayed in a castle in Germany because the Duke or whoever had to he had to keep it up. So he made it into a bed and breakfast. And the moat was a fish farm. I mean, it was amazing. There's something, what is it called? There's an organization that finds places like that for you to stay in. It was great. And it was close to where the exchange teacher lived, so she could take us around.
Perfect. Do you happen to remember where that was located?
In Germany near, well, let's see, not Berlin. What's the?
Munich.
Yeah, we were near Munich.
Okay.
And then what is the name of it? I need to give them a plug. They have, well, they're better than motel rooms, but they have little suites and things like that.
A hostel?
Yeah, well, they're not a hostel because it's just your family.
Oh, it's a VRBO.
Yeah, because the castle we went to, there were 3 families, and trying to think what. Anyway,
Anyway.
And so were some of these folks then that would come to Wheaton College, they would go back home and they would send Christmas cards to you or birthday
No,
cards?
many of them. My parents graduated in the late 30s, and many of their friends went out to send. They were missionaries around the world. So they'd be writing to mom because she would write to them and keep in touch and help support them.
Mhm.
Were you ever in a stamp club, Ann?
I visited a stamp club once in Glen Ellen, Illinois, because I thought they might like some of my stamps, but I have a big box of stamps. But I don't know how to explain it. They weren't really interested. They looked at them, but they had more specific things that they collected, I think.
Okay.
Do you feel that stamp collecting has waned in its interest for folks of young people this generation?
Well, I don't know if the young people this generation, it depends so much on their family and whether they do anything outside of TV and a cell phone.
A lot
Well,
of
that's true.
you've got some thoughtful information there. Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah, I really don't know anybody who does, and I just know that here we are at Green Hills, and we found 2 other people that had stamps, but they might have inherited them or they might have been asked to inherit them and didn't.
Yes. Yes.
So for now, you enjoy looking at your stamps.
Yeah.
Does your collection have a future?
Well, I
Beyond
think
you?
I think I'll give the ones that are just cut. I'll give them to see if the Sons of Norway are still collecting.
Good. That's good to know because we have a Sons of Norway near here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's. Yeah.
Is there a value to the stamps that have been collected?
No more than what's printed on the top of it.
Oh, really?
These big sheets I could put on an envelope, but you'd have to cover the whole envelope with stamps to make 83.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Wow. And I would imagine that a post office, when you mail a letter or package with all those stamps on them that don't have the value of what postage is today, that the post office would frown upon that to see an envelope completely covered.
Well, as long as they can read the name and get it to where it belongs.
All right. Have you ever, when you correspond then with your friends from around the world, are there special stamps that you put on an envelope just to make sure that they have something unique from the United States?
I try to do that. But the problem is it's more than $1 now for foreign ones. And I buy a sheet of them, so my sister lives in Canada, so her family has to have special stamps.
Why would someone have wanted, of all the things there are to collect in the world, why would someone wanted to have had a stamp collection?
Well, when you start seeing foreign ones from countries you never heard of, and some of them telling a story, I mean, even now, I just can't help but save a stamp because it's so pretty.
That's why, because it's so pretty, huh?
And they're silver,
Well, beauty has a lot to do with many things in the world, doesn't it? Not only stamp collecting. Yes. So Ann.
Well, why do you collect it?
I'm sorry.
Oh. Go ahead.
Okay. Now that you're not collecting stamps or as diligently as you had as a youngster, do you have something else that you focus on as far as collecting in your retired life?
Well, not now, but in my earlier retirement, I crocheted buttons into a necklace.
Okay.
Huh.
Did you sell them?
And so I was known as the button lady.
Okay.
Oh, now there. We'll need to tell her about the Button Museum later on.
Well, I
Yeah.
haven't been to a museum, but I've been to a convention, and I was overwhelmed by how many people collect buttons.
Buttons.
Wow. Wow. So you crocheted a cover for a button?
No, I crocheted the buttons onto the necklace.
The little ball, was it you crocheted a little ball?
Oh.
I had flat buttons,
Oh, flat. Okay.
and I put them on an order, so there were small buttons at the top, and then down by the middle of the bottom, it had a bigger decorative button.
Did you
Ah,
sell them, Ann?
clever.
Well, I sold them, and I didn't make any more till I got to Green Hills, and people were giving us tickets for football games. So if you gave me a ticket to a football game, I gave the wife a necklace.
Nice.
Oh, very
And I
good.
haven't really done it since then.
Okay. What was
Well, creating and never, just because one gets older does not mean one needs to stop being creative or collecting or expanding one's mind, no matter what.
Well, that's the thing about collecting. It's hard to stop, and then it's hard to find someone that wants them.
I think that is a very good explanation. I've in visiting with folks here at Green Hills, they have collections and they don't know what to do with them, and it becomes a part of you're attached to them, and it's hard to let go. But that's that's neat to have a focus towards
Right.
something like that too.
Wonderful.
Yep. Well, and if there is one thing, I'm going to think outside the box here, past the stamp collecting. If there's one thing from the 50s that you can focus on as really having been influential in your life as an adult, what would that have been?
Well, I think my teachers were inspiring,
Mhm.
and having had gone to school at home, I was eager to get out in the world.
Mhm.
So I think my family was influenced, and then trying, like seeing all the states and things like that, driving around for that.
Mhm. Mhm. This has been, we're at the end of our fun chat, Ann. This has been very inspiring and informational too. We can see your passion for your collection and just for the love of doing it and everything that was an outpouring of collecting stamps and how that affected you. And especially we loved how you met your husband. He knew the way to your heart, just with your flowers for grandma.
Well,
Yeah.
that was well. Then getting flowers was a big deal too.
Sure. Thank you, Ann. This has been most delightful.
Thank you for your time. And viewers, please do tell your friends, even your relatives, about this 1950s fun chat, because this will educate you in ways you didn't think possible. And so till next time, toodaloo.